the OBA right here on Mix 1080 AMWUFO, talking about the world of sports on the #1 sports show in the nation, bar none. We are just 8 to 10 days away from covering our 15th Super Bowl live from Phoenix, Arizona. Make sure that you keep your dial set right here. The whole time we're going to bring you information. I believe we will be exclusively the only radio station in the area covering the Super Bowl from beginning to end. Right here on Mix 1080 AM WUFO. A lot to talk about in the world of sports. Final Four weekend for the NFL, the NBA. Some interesting things happening. I like what I saw from Cleveland last night. That was an excellent bounce back game for them against the Los Angeles Clippers. I think they have some points about themselves that are really starting to look a little bit better now that the King has gotten his rest and is ready to perform. We have a lot to talk about. What are your thoughts in Western New York on the hire of Rex Ryan as the head coach? There's some other information that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the program about the power structure of the Buffalo Bills. ESPN reported that there's something new as far as the power structure, that Rex Ryan would report directly to the Pagulas, Kim and Terry, and not directly to Doug Whaley, and that this was something different. I have a huge respect for ESPN. I have a huge respect for Mike Rodak, but that's not true. Doug Whaley was never the boss of Doug Marrone. That structure changed after the retirement of Buddy Nix, and that is not true at all. So Doug Whaley was never Doug Marrone's boss. That's why Doug Marrone went rogue and acted in the manner in which he did. So that needs to be retracted by ESPN, because that is a serious mistake. And if you're going to be accurate in reporting on the bill structure, I will read something to you a little bit later in the program which tells you that Doug Marrone reported directly either to the owner or the acting owner, who at the time of his hiring was Russ Brandon. So it is not true at all that there's something new in the mix as far as Doug Whaley. I do believe eventually that Kim and Terry Pagula, who are gaining respect for the football acumen of Doug Whaley, will promote him to vice president in charge of all football operations. At that time, and only at that time, will he be over the coach. He has never been over the coach since being named general manager. That changed when they hired Doug Whaley as general manager, and that is not true. 837-1112, 837-1112, right here on Mix 1080 AM WFO. If you're out of our listening range, you can hear us on TuneIn Radio app. Want to say hello to all my TuneIn Radio app listeners that emailed me this week and said that they're listening to the show. Also via the internet at WFOAM.com. I know that you can see me live on Ustream, and we will have the program up on YouTube probably in the next 24 hours, so you can review it at your leisure. But this is the #1 sports show in the nation, bar none, talking about the world of sports. Who are you picking? Seattle, Green Bay, or will Indianapolis come up with one more upset of the New England Patriots? Nobody's giving them a chance. No one. Absolutely no one. And on a sad note, one of our colleagues in this business, who I thought was doing a great job, had an unfortunate incident, and as we report on others, we have to report on him. He was arrested for solicitation in Washington, D.C. Just the other day, and that was Greg Anthony, former New York Knicks. You know I'm a New York Knicks fan, so we are really disappointed about that, really, because he was doing an outstanding job with CBS. He was calling college games. Greg Anthony had really found his niche in broadcasting, and it's really disappointing that he was recently arrested and accused of solicitation. We hope that this gets straightened out, and we wish him all the best, because this guy was really doing a great job. 837-1112, 837-1112. We want to hear from you. Today we got a lot to talk about. What are your thoughts on the Rex Ryan hire? I have no problem with it. I had no problem with Doug Marrone being hired. I didn't like it, but you give them all a chance. Want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? 837-1112. Going to take a short break. Be right back here on the #1 sports show in the nation, right here on Mix 1080 AM WFO. I am the mighty Oba. All right, we're back here on the #1 sports show in the nation. What is your thoughts? Rex Ryan has taken over Western New York. What do you think about it? 837-1112. What are your thoughts? Final Four weekend for the NFL. We're getting ready for the Super Bowl in Phoenix, Arizona. Who do you think is going to be there? I said before New England and Seattle. I'm sticking with that unless Indianapolis comes up with one of the great upsets in NFL history. I think that it's going to be New England and Seattle, and I'm picking Seattle to win. I don't think New England can hang with this football team. This is a machine. I think they were priming themselves for the Super Bowl repeat, and they're now in position to do it, and we're about to see them get it done. 837-1112, 837-1112. If you're out of town, you have to put 716-837-1112. But we want to hear from you. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Facebook. I love the amount of fans that we're getting on Twitter. My Twitter numbers are going up. We've got a lot of fans on Facebook. We just got to keep those numbers going. We're still working on the downtown stadium project. I believe that in the next maybe few months, you will be pleasantly surprised. I don't know, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see that this is really going to happen. How is it going to happen is going to be the question. How will it benefit the African American and people of color in Western New York will really be what we're looking at. And we have to look at that very closely, because I have seen very little benefit to this great renaissance that is occurring in downtown Buffalo. We are not seeing an even distribution of tax dollars for recreational use, and that is a shame. And I'm not afraid to tell anybody about that. Downtown Buffalo is rebuilding itself. It is adding all kinds of activities, but these are not activities for all of its citizens, and they're using mostly tax dollars to do it. How many of you have taken advantage of this new ice rink over at Canal Side when they already have one at Fountain Plaza? I've never seen so many ice rinks in my day, but we can't get our basketball courts redone before the spring, or an indoor basketball court for our young people. Why isn't there not one downtown? Why is there not one for all people, all of your citizens? What we're seeing is a gentrification project of downtown Buffalo, and that is why we have fought so hard for the downtown stadium complex. And we believe that it should be placed at the Outer Harbor. We're not limited to the Outer Harbor, but we feel that that is the best site location. If there's another location, we can gladly move to that location and get it done, because we have private dollars. And that is the biggest difference in any of these other projects that you're seeing. Most of them are using public dollars for a great part of the benefit of them building, and it's for a secular group of people, not all citizens. And that is not right. And when you're using tax dollars, especially for the preliminary plans that the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation is trying to put on the Outer Harbor, this is not fair and it is not right. They're trying to put exclusive housing on public property, and thus it becomes private property and excludes the public, who they are supposed to be serving. So this is something that we will continue to fight for, and we will continue to bring to light by providing as much information as we can. The Outer Harbor Stadium complex project, though it is not limited to that land specific area, it can be put anywhere that could accommodate the proposal, but it is a private investment proposal that benefits the public. The biggest difference that you can see. All right, we're right here on Mix 1080 AM WFO Radio. We want to talk to you right here, and we'll go to our first call. You're on the air with me.
Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Okay, this is Sister Shirley. I missed you on the Wayne program. I've been trying to call you, and you wasn't on there. But listen, what I want to say, everybody talking about Buffalo Bills going to the Super Bowl.
This early?
Buffalo Bill went 4 times and never won.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about this Rex Ryan? I don't know about him.
Well, we got to give him a chance, just like we've given everybody else. We gave Greg Williams a chance, and he didn't turn out too well. We gave Dick Duran a chance. He didn't turn out too well. Mike Mularkey, we gave him a chance. He had a very close season to making the playoffs, but then he quit on us. I thought Doug Marrone was not a very good coach from the outset because he did not hire an evenly distributed staff in veteran leadership, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Most of the experience of his staff was on the defensive side of the ball, and you saw the defense perform very well for 2 straight years under him, but the offense underperformed for 2 straight years because he had a very inexperienced offensive staff. I also think, too, that Terry and Kim Pagula will have to re-examine their organizational model. If you read the Buffalo Criterion, do you get the Buffalo Criterion, ma'am?
No, I live in Niagara Falls.
You live in Niagara Falls, but if I think you can get it in Niagara Falls, you'll have to call me or email me later, and I'll try to give you a location. But I did write an article in regards to the organizational model of the Buffalo Bills, which I don't think will work. I think it creates a bad relationship between general manager and coach, and this is what we saw with Doug Marrone. Okay. ESPN reported falsely that Doug Whaley was Doug Marrone's boss. That's not true. When they hired Doug Whaley, they had already cut his legs out from under him and put him in charge of the 53-man roster. And he was never Doug Marrone's boss. Doug Marrone reported directly either to the acting owner at the time of his hire, who was Russ Brandon, or to the new owner, who was now Terry and Kim Pagula. And because of that, it caused a great amount of tension because Doug Marrone went rogue and refused to work properly with management. And whereas they got into that big fight at training camp, you remember reading about that?
Right.
They had a big argument at training camp. That is because of the organizational model of the Buffalo Bills. It does not always work. If you have a general manager like Doug Whaley, and because he's young on the job, I think that what is going to happen, Kim and Terry Pagula are going to start gaining in confidence with Doug Whaley, and you will see him eventually be named as vice president in charge of all football operations, and that will put him over Rex Ryan. Now, getting to Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan is a football guy. There's no doubt about it. His father used to coach at UB from 1961 to 1965. He then started coaching in the CFL, and they moved to Toronto. His parents ended up breaking up, but he grew up in Toronto. He started playing hockey, but he has a very extensive pedigree of football acumen. He is a football coach. Why did he fail in New York? Because they changed general managers. He had a general manager that went out and got him the players that he needed to succeed, who was Mike Tannenbaum. They fired him and brought in John Izek from Seattle, thinking that he could do the same thing in Seattle with the Jets, but him and Rex Ryan were never on the same page. And he began dismantling the players that Rex Ryan had put together to succeed in New York. And that is why I think it eventually led to failure. What you're going to see from Rex Ryan, everybody says he's a defensive guy, but you heard the first thing he said at the press conference. Did you see me at the press conference?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you saw me there. Okay, good. The first thing he said, he's got to get the offensive line fixed. And that is where he starts. That is where Rex Ryan starts. The New York Jets always had a good offensive line. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the call.
Bye.
837-1112, 837-1112. I appreciate the caller calling in. And she was used to me being on with Dwayne in the afternoon at 3:35. So we'll have to talk about that and see if we can get those updates back going. So 837-1112 is the number. Okay, you're on with me here on the #1 sports show in the nation. What's up, Knicks fan?
What's up with you, brother?
Were you hanging out with Greg Anthony?
No, man, but you know, man, Greg is from Vegas, man. And
Oh.
out there, man.
Well, Greg need to get it together. Greg was doing so well. Hold on one second. Who else is on the line with me?
You know what it is.
What's up, Greg? Were you out with Greg Anthony? Your namesake?
Hey, if I wasn't, I should have been in Vegas.
Man, that hurt me to the hilt because he's doing so well. I mean, this guy was on every major basketball network commentating. He was on the NBA Network, CBS, ESPN, TNT. Greg Anthony was really making a name for himself. And all of a sudden, you put yourself in that position, it makes you feel bad. I know everybody makes a mistake. I'm not going to throw salt on it. But you got to be smarter with this. You got to be smarter. Let me ask you this. What are you guys' thoughts on Rex Ryan's hire?
Hey, man, to be honest, I didn't want it, but I understood it. I wanted somebody, preferably, for lack of a better word, younger, to bring in fresh ideas, da-da-da-da-da. They like Todd Bowles or something. That's what I had my eye on, to be honest.
Yeah, Todd Bowles would have been a good coach. No question about it. No question. But the only thing I think that I do understand where the organization went, they needed a proven person.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've noticed, and Knicks fan, let me ask you this. Have you noticed that the NFL has shifted in hiring since the Bills hired Rex Ryan? That started a tidal wave of defensive hires. Have you noticed that? And they say it's because of the lack of good quarterbacks.
And I'm also real glad that so far Mr. Marone has overplayed his hand from the coach standpoint, although he still count that money, though. I mean, I can't be mad at him. He's still counting that $4 million, but so much for him being such a hot candidate. Now, he still may get picked up with someone.
As an offensive line coach, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
See, you don't do garbage like that.
No.
And there's something that you have a little bit more faith in the Bagulas than I do. Because my thing is this, until you get rid of Russ, it's going to be the same for my man Whaley. He's you know, I mean, I never thought that this brother was treated fairly. Now I'm reading today's paper. Yes, and that's how Seattle and several others.
It is a growing trend. That it is. It is becoming a growing trend of the general manager only being over the personnel area, but I believe that eventually he will be over all football. This guy is sharp.
I think he has the capabilities, but I still think that Russ has a comfort zone with it for whatever reason. I mean, see, I was under the impression that for the most part, he was going to go back to running the business. But
Oh, he is. That's it for us.
yeah, but I mean, my thing is, I mean, you got to consult with 2 or 3 different people. Man, that's crazy.
No, Doug only consults with the Pagulas.
I understand that, but the problem I have with that, it seems to me now, you just explained that this is a common thing now, more common than.
It's more common now than it used to be.
Right, but it just seems to me that that's just, you know, if the man, give the man the job solely, like you say.
Yes.
Don't give him partial job, you know, because the bottom line is, if all this blows up, he's gonna be the man out front.
Oh yeah. If Rex does what Doug Marrone did, you have what you had last year all over again. And I agree with you on that. But now with Russ Brandon, they removed his CEO title. He's no longer the CEO.
Right.
He's only over the marketing end of the Buffalo Bills.
Right. And you said that.
Yeah, he's only over the marketing end of the Bills and budgets. And Doug does not report to Russ anymore.
That's it. Right.
He reports directly to the Pagulas, but that's the same with Rex Ryan.
Right.
And that means that your football operation is split. You've got a guy that does game day, the football games, staff, personnel, the personnel in on game day, but the 53-man roster, the draft, which is a collaborative effort now, but the person that makes draft decisions is Doug Whaley. But I think Doug Whaley won over a huge part of the Pagulas. Now you got to give them time because they're new, and you had Polian, who I think is way out of date. I think he's good at commentating now, but as far as running an organization, his last 2 years in Indianapolis were terrible. And he forced them to rebuild that organization, and luckily they ended up being in a position that a grade A quarterback was coming out. And they were able to basically let Peyton Manning go to Denver. Now, what I'm trying to say is that Polian was offered to come in, and he was going to fire Doug Whaley. You know what I'm saying? He was going to fire Doug Whaley and replace him with one of his other retreads, A.J. Smith.
Right.
And Doug Whaley, after this interview process, if you notice, Doug Whaley ran the show. And Doug Whaley, the first interview was more general, where Kim and Terry Pagula started asking questions. Russ Brandon asked questions. But on the second interview, and they only had 1 second interview, the person that asked specific NFL football questions was Doug Whaley. And with that, I think he has won a huge amount of respect. And remember, we had this conversation that I said before not too long, Doug Whaley will be reclassified as the vice president in charge of all football operations for the Bills. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but I believe that he will be rewarded with that title. No, that's not true. I don't. Who wrote that?
That was in the Buffalo News last week.
No, they don't know what they're talking about. That's the problem with inaccurate, and I hope some of them are listening. Some of them do tune in to the program. They basically said everybody reports to the Pagulas. Russ Brandon is over marketing. Basically, Doug Whaley is in charge of personnel, the scouting department, and that encompasses the draft. And Rex Ryan reports to the Pagulas. That's how it's set up. Now, I'm not even mentioning all the other departments now. I'm only dealing with those people that were on stage. Now, you're talking about Jim Overdorf reports directly to the Pagulas. Scott Birchtold, the vice president of communication, reports directly to the Pagulas. You see where I'm going?
Now, I'm really surprised that ESPN, which I have faith in, that they would come up with a bogus claim without doing their research. But I guess anybody can make mistakes.
Well, he made him. I like, the beat guy here, Mike, is a good guy.
But
I think he made a mistake.
I wish they would at least clarify that.
Hmm?
I doubt
When,
it.
if he's at the, well, we're the clarification. And let me see. I'll pull up a quote, and I want you to hear this. So you have where is this? Ralph Wilson told Russ Brandon. This was in January of 2013. You remember that? After the lease was ratified, they made another announcement a couple weeks later. They said, Russ Brandon stated, he told me he was passing the torch to me to run the franchise in totality. Knicks, who was then general manager, had mixed results with the team, going 16-32 since he took over. And of course that included 2 consecutive 6-10 finishes after 2 seasons, which led to Chan Gailey being fired on December 31st. In January of 2013, Russ Brandon, Buddy Nix, Jim Overdorf, and Doug Whaley began their search for the next head coach of the Bills. And they interviewed then Ken Wisenhunt, Ray Horton, Chip Kelly. We passed on Chip Kelly, you hear me? And Doug Marrone and Lovie Smith. Now, this is where the part that I want you to realize is that I want to take you back to when Kyle Orton said he was retiring. You remember that? You remember the transcript of the conversation? Okay. He came into Doug Marrone's office and said, I'm going to retire. Doug Marrone did what? He called Russ Brandon. Right? And he told Russ, tell Doug that Orton is going to retire. I'm going to call the owner. So who does Doug Marrone report to? The owner. And before the owner was, it was Russ Brandon was the acting guy. Doug Whaley was never over Doug Marrone. It never happened. And for them to say that, they're making a mistake. Why do you think he went rogue? And at the press conference the other day, Pagula said, well, I was disappointed. He said he was shocked because I talked to Doug Marrone every day. Hello? And everybody else was reporting that him and Doug Whaley, that their relationship could not be repaired. And they always said, what did they say at the press conference the other day? Russ Brandon said it. Doug is over the 53-man roster. Didn't they say that at the end of the year press conference? Doug is over the 53-man roster, and Doug Marrone is over the 45-man on game day. Hello? He did not report. And this type of organizational model, it can work now. But the management, the GM, and the head coach have to be on the same page. And in this instance, I think Rex Ryan needs to succeed. And Doug Whaley was the major force, I believe, in getting him hired.
But that's what Pagula said.
Yes.
He said that.
Yeah.
He said exactly what you quoted. On that second interview, he was sitting right there. He said Doug Whaley was asking him football questions. So when he was asking football questions, Terry Pagula said, what is that?
And now, that's something, Knicks fan, I want you to analyze too. I believe that Terry and Kim Pagula found out who was the football guy in that room.
Right.
You hear what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying?
I hear exactly what you said.
Who asked the questions at the second interview? If Russ was a football guy, wouldn't he be asking the second question?
Sure, man, if you are.
Right? He's not a football guy. He's a marketing guy.
But maybe I'm giving them a little bit more credit. I would like to think that prior to them, they knew that Whaley was a football guy.
No, I don't think so. I think that they were learning their way around the league. I think they gave him the benefit of the doubt, but I believe he won a lot of respect from them, from the in-depth questioning that he was able to do and that Russ Brandon was not capable of doing. You see where I'm going?
I understand where you're going, but again, to me, if they didn't know, unless they figured too, where he was just a figurehead and he was just doing what he was told, I would think that they would know that if anybody knows football, it would be him.
Well, you got to see it for yourself. I mean, if you find out that you got to use your blade on somebody messing around on you, you got to find out for yourself. Because you're still an OG, right?
I retired Monday of this week, and I retired my blade.
You retired the blade?
I retired my blade.
Really?
I retired it. I put it in a case. I said a few kind words about it. We went down memory lane. We talked with all the people that I had to pound my business with, and I said a prayer for them. But I said, I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm a retiree now, so I got to act my age.
You're no longer a original OG.
No longer, man.
You retired the garlic razor blade?
I went to the last,
Huh?
I went to my last OG meeting last night and gave up my card.
You gave up your OG
I
card.
had to give up my card.
Does that mean you're not going to wear shorts with the dress socks and Stacey Adams during the summer anymore?
Man, I'm going to still wear my Stacey Adams.
Oh, okay, okay.
You can't have no OG, man.
Oh, and you got your fedora?
Oh, you got that, man. I went down and checked out one today, and I'm going to get myself
Oh, you know, I got a new look for it. I don't know if it's new, but do you wear, let me ask you this on the OG tip, since we're asking OG questions. I'm moving into OG age range.
Yes, you are.
Do you have the outfit where you wear the ass guard in the summertime just on the bare chest?
No, man. I leave that for Roland Martin.
Roland Martin, right?
Roland Martin is that's the man if you want to talk about that.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Knicks fan, I got to go.
All right, my brother.
What's your picks? Let me get your picks for the Final Four NFL. Who are you picking?
I think it's going to be, I think Green Bay is going to win it. And I think,
Really?
yeah.
Green Bay and who else?
And I think New England is going to win, but I think the championship is going to be New England and Seattle. I think Seattle is going to win.
You just said, now you got me confused here. You said Green Bay was going to win.
Well, okay. Who does Green Bay play?
Green Bay plays Seattle.
No, all right. Seattle is going to win.
Okay.
That's correct.
That sounds better.
Seattle is going to win, and it's going to be Seattle and the Patriots.
Okay. Seattle and the Patriots.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We'll talk about it next week.
All right, now.
All right, hey, we're going to take a short break. Be right back here on the #1 sports show in the nation. That was the Knicks fan with us. We want to hear from you. Who are you picking? What are your thoughts on the Rex Ryan hire? A lot of thoughts on it. Everybody's talking about it. We'll talk about it with you in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a short break. I'm the mighty Oba. All right, we're on the #1 sports show in the nation. I'm the mighty Oba, 837-1112. We want to talk to you. What are your thoughts? Give us a call. Hey, I've got another call on. Hey, you're on with the mighty Oba. You're on the #1 sports show in the nation.
All right. I want to talk to you about Doug Marone's hiring.
Okay.
His contract. I want you to help me with this.
Help you. I got you.
Okay. You have a rookie coach
Yes.
who the Bills at the time had a rookie quarterback.
Yes.
Okay. I never heard of that before. A coach and a quarterback and rookie. Now, I'm asking, how did Doug Marone get the $4 million clause in his contract when he didn't warrant any type of, guarantee that he was going to be such a great coach? How could he have worked it out in his contract when this guy wasn't improving anywhere at any given time? They say he was a hot commodity, but you notice nobody's picking him up right now.
That's true. You have to put that on his agent. His agent, if I was in the business, I would like for him to be my agent. Because, like you said, that's normally not done. There are outs in contracts, but to give a man 1 year's salary is unheard of. And that's because Jim Overdorf is the contract guy. His agent must have requested it, And Jim Overdorf at the time answered to Russ Brandon. So the onus of the blame, unfortunately, goes to Russ Brandon because he was the ultimate authority that had to okay that be put in Doug Marone's contract.
One more point I gotta make.
Okay?
One more. Now, this is my opinion. The reason why Doug Marone got that in his contract with this great agent, I think, is because the Buffalo Bills was in a transition period, not knowing when Ralph Wilson was going to pass away, not knowing if the team was going to move, not knowing anything like that. So what seasoned coach, I remember earlier you named about 5 different coaches.
Right.
What seasoned coach is going to come in under that umbrella of unsurety and choose to coach the Buffalo Bills? So I'm thinking that's why he got the $4 million. What other coach is going to come in under those conditions? It wasn't no guarantee the team was going to stay. It wasn't no guarantee the owner was going to live. So who else are they going to get to, to come and coach the team at that time?
Anybody? Remember, there's only 32 jobs, no matter what. Lovie Smith wanted the Buffalo Bills job. Lovie Smith wanted it. So did Ken Wisenhunt. Ray Horton wanted it. There's no question about it. Chances are you would still get 1 year under your belt. And remember, Ralph Wilson was still alive when Doug Marone was hired, and there was no information available on what his health status was. He was hired when Doug Marone was one of the first hires of January of 2013. At that time, Ralph Wilson had already ceded control of the team to Russ Brandon, but none of us knew what his health condition was because none of that information was made available. So everybody was still saying at that time that we're hoping Ralph Wilson lives for another 20 years. Little did we know in March that he would make his transition. You see where I'm going? Yeah. So there's only 32 jobs in the league. I would not have agreed to put that in Doug Marone's contract, nor would I have agreed to allow Doug Marone to hire a novice offensive staff without NFL experience. And that shows that Russ Brandon, who was given full control of the team and had been here a number of years, really is not a true football guy, but a marketing guy. Doug Whaley is the football guy.
So shouldn't we have blamed the management instead of Doug Marone? Who got a contract like that? Who's ever gotten a contract like that?
Nobody. You got to blame it on Russ Brandon because Russ was the final word. If he did not agree with it, he should have said, no, I'm not going to give you that. And Doug Marone probably would have still taken the job.
I'm surprised he got that. I thought he was supposed to babysit the Bills for a couple of years, and that's why he gave him that house with all that money.
No, he gave him that was his agent because of the age of the owner and you could not predict the future of the franchise. The agent asked for that to be put in there because technically Kim or Terry Pagula could have come in and thrown out everybody. They could have fired everybody and started over. So his agent asked for that protective protection for his client. Hey, all kudos to the agent. But Russ Brandon should have said no.
How did he warrant that, though? He was a rookie coach.
I don't disagree with you. He does not warrant that. It should not have been given to him.
That's why I came to that conclusion. He didn't warrant it to get the guarantee. He didn't warrant it at all.
Yeah, he didn't have any leverage. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Lovie Smith been to the Super Bowl. Yeah. If his agent asked for it, hey, he's got leverage. Doug Marone has been the item of mediocrity for his entire coaching career, including Syracuse, including when he was the so-called offensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. He wasn't an offensive coordinator. Sean Payton ran the offense. This guy was a novice. He shouldn't have been given that.
Pat, how would he a hot commodity in the league?
He's not. You see, he's unemployed.
So didn't people at ESPN report that this guy was a hot commodity?
Well, you see what they just told. You see what they just said about Doug Whaley. Now, for the first time, Doug Whaley is not over the coach. He wasn't over Doug Marone. These people say anything. They don't care. See, we are the fix-it. This is why this is the #1 sports show in the nation, and we're about to cover 15 Super Bowls. We will be the only radio station there, wall to wall. Keep your dial set on Mix 1080. All right, thanks for the call, my friend. All right, take care. 837-1112. I think I've got George from the Challenger on with me. What's up, George? George, will you just back me up on this thing about Doug Whaley for the first time not being over the head coach? He wasn't over Doug Marrone, was he?
He wasn't doing Doug Marrone. That's why Doug Marrone was acting the way he acted, and that's why other teams are looking at the Bills' format and saw how Doug Marrone acted. That's why he's not getting the job. I wrote in my article before the season ended, I said he would not be hired anywhere else. And once he officially walked and left Buffalo, I said this guy is blackballed as a head coach. He won't even get an offensive line coaching job.
He couldn't even get a job in Jacksonville. I mean, that's pretty bad, man. He's showing up all over the place.
Know everything and don't know everything, and on top of it, you undermine the whole system that the Bills have set up via the general manager. Doug Whaley had to set up nice. This clown gonna come in here, not play his players, not play Cyrus Caruso from Alabama. If you don't play, if that guy can play for Nick Saban for 4 years, you can't tell me you can't try him out at a guard.
Right.
That's what his 13 was.
Right. What do you think, Greg?
It shows itself. So like to say, if you listen to the press conference, they outlined everything that you said. That's to the letter. So they addressed that. They addressed how the team is going to be ran. They addressed what Russ Brandon's position is going to be. And he even said it himself. But as we also say that, we have to give Rex Ryan a chance for his staff and his system and everything to play itself out. Just like everybody else was given a chance. It's not as if it cannot be done.
Now, let me ask George. George, you've gone down to the Jets training camp. We've gone into the locker room of the Jets for a number of years. Tell the audience about the Rex Ryan teams and the biggest difference that they're going to see with Rex Ryan coming in as the coach of the Buffalo Bills.
Well, first of all, when you get to training camp, make sure the music is turned up quite loud. Because this crew are very vocal, they're very physical. Those guys, they're some of the most swearing cussing you're going to ever hear during training camp. I mean, they would let the guys have it. They would let guys 6'8", 350 pounds. Solano would just let this guy have it, saying, if you don't know the play, you raise your hand in the huddle and say, hey, I don't understand. Don't get up there on the line and screw the so-and-so up and, oh, my goodness, and screw the whole play up. I mean, they really teach old school, hands-on. You're going to see big, physical guys. You're going to see a lot of hitting. You won't see some fights break out. Because they go in and hard and training camp because they want to toughen those young players up that they just picked up to make sure that they know this is the type of team that we have, and the only way you're going to make it is by hitting.
Right. And people need to realize, too, that Rex Ryan starts with the offensive line. Man, look at his offensive lines. Nick Mangold, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. That's where it starts. And everything starts up front. Now, Doug Marrone was supposed to be a line guru. His lines were terrible. Terrible. They regressed. Cordy Glenn regressed. And Doug Marrone was a pitiful offensive side of the ball coach. And I'm beginning to think, George, that based on some of the statements we're hearing, that Doug Marrone was micromanaging the offense. Yeah.
Sounds like Hackett. We were all over Hackett, but sound like Hackett
was a lady that wanted to know why Doug Marrone left.
Oh, okay.
it really looked like he was controlling everything.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it was two different teams. You had an offensive team and you had a defensive team, and they weren't being coached by the same person. There were two coaches, two units, and that's probably one reason why they didn't make the playoffs. Because you got to have a complete unit. You can't have two separate units
Right.
with their own thing.
Unevenly yoked team, you know? And I tell you where Rex Ryan is going to find out something very quick. What's his name? Danny Crossman? His special teams were only decent because he had his starters out there. And he better look at the film A lot of those starters started getting nagging injuries because Doug Marrone put his starters on special teams. You had Robert Wood covering kicks. You don't have a starting receiver covering kicks. I mean, I hope he starts really looking at this film and noticing that this guy had his starters out there. Danny Crossman's not that good.
No, and Rex Ryan will make changes during the season. He'll fire a coach in a minute.
You know, I bet you Danny Crossman is going to be one of the first.
And also that offensive line, I think they'll realize Eric Wood is not the center he needs on that.
No. Hey, you know who I think is coming?
Who?
Willie Colon. He's only he's 31, and Willie Colon was scouted by Doug Whaley, drafted by Pittsburgh, and played for Rex Ryan last year. And Eric Pierce is a free agent. He was terrible anyway. So I think Willie Colon is someone you can plug in for a year or two until you get your line back where it needs to be. A nice veteran. He can still move. You still had a decent running game. There are some other free agents that are available, but I guarantee you they're going to address that line right away. Right away. And Eric Wood got to go. I'm sorry. Eric was terrible this year.
Yeah, if you look at that, I think Rex Ryan does.
Uh-huh.
You understand it. He is not afraid of expectation. He puts expectations right on the table.
Right.
Period.
Absolutely. And I there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
And George, let me ask, can you just tell the audience too, when we go into the locker room of the Jets, it was totally different from the Bills? There was a high level of respect level for this man.
Big difference that they're going into the Jets locker room. You go in their locker room, you can tell it's about the coach. They mention the coach's name. Most of the guys during their interviews, it's well organized. The guys are very professional. The way they carry themselves and the way they handle their interviews and interactions with the media is very professional.
Okay, we're down to our last 3 minutes. We got to talk about the Final Four. Let's look at the first game is going to be Seattle and Green Bay. Who are you guys picking? We'll start with Greg. Who are you picking and why?
I'm picking Seattle for one reason. I want to bury the hatchet that only one quarterback style can win championships.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they can run the football. Green Bay can't stop the run. I was surprised that Dallas did not stick with the script more against Green Bay. Green Bay can't stop the run. When B.J. Raji went out, they could not replace his ability to stop the run in the middle. And I thought Dallas would have run the ball. I know Murray did have a fumble, so that kind of changes your mind in championship mode, you know. Yeah. That's a good point, George. So you're saying that you felt that Jason Garrett was over his head.
Oh, he's over his head every year. It's just that Jerry Jones is really the coach and it deflects away from what Jason Garrett actually does as a head coach. And you can't really define him because Jerry Jones is there all the time.
Hey, Callahan is not going back to Dallas.
Callahan is in D.C.
He's in Washington now, right? What?
Callahan's going over to D.C. now. He's not going back.
Right. Well, I wonder, now he was the play caller and the offensive line coach, right?
Yeah, he was.
And, well, that's going to be interesting.
That's the best line in pro football. I saw them against New Orleans back in September. I never seen a line get off the ball as quick as they were. When that ball snapped, all five of those guys were like synchronized. I mean, they were just pushing New Orleans all over the field that night. The same way they were doing Green Bay last week, and I was just shocked that they just didn't run the ball all day.
Yeah, they should have ran the ball 40 times. Easy. I would not have backed away from the run. Okay, George, I need your pick in that game.
Seattle with Green Bay. I have a feeling Green Bay's going to play them tough tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's bring that big boy shoulder pads with them out there tomorrow, Green Bay.
All right, we'll start with George on the late game tomorrow, which is New England against Indianapolis. Do you think there is room for an upset?
No. They'll take care of them. They'll take care of them probably by 10 points or more. But I got it 31-21.
Yeah, I think Pep Hamilton is going to do a good job. I think Pagano's going to do a good job, but I don't think it will be enough to stop the New England machine to keep them from getting to the Super Bowl again. So I agree with you there. What do you think, Greg?
I'm going with the upset, people.
Really?
I'm taking the Colts, and I'm telling you why. If the Colts can mess around and run at the one, and if they can stop New England from running, it's going to be a problem.
Now that's a good point, Greg, that I like, because now, George, let me ask you this. The Ravens, it's the same thing. Why did they stop running the ball against New England?
I didn't understand that either last week, guys. The Ravens should have kept running the ball.
Yeah, New England can't stop the run. If I'm Pagano, who came out of the Ravens tree, I look at that film and I'm running the football.
All day
Yeah,
long.
Tom Brady, you're not going to see the field. I'm running right at Vince Wilfork. Vince Wilfork is not the same player. Not the same player. He had a bad Achilles injury. I think he's played okay, but he's not the same player. Big guys like that get tired. I would run right at New England.
Oh, my God.
You know?
You're right, because he didn't look good at all against Yanda. Yanda was pushing Walker all over the field last week.
Right. And I would use my tight ends a lot against New England, but I'm running the football. If I got to throw, I'm staying away from Revis. Well, you got to challenge him some, but Revis is a lockdown corner. There's no question about it.
The only thing I hope Donald don't do is put the whole game in the quarterback's hands.
All right, hey, fellas, we're out of time. All right, hey, we've had a great time here on the #1 sports show in the nation. Come back next week. We're getting ready for that exclusive Super Bowl coverage live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Media Center for Super Bowl 49. I am the Mighty Obo. We'll see you next week right here on the #1 sports show in the nation.